Hello everyone, it's Carrie, and in today's video I'm showing you how I make a simple wig. Last year at a convention I had created a set of dolls where I made these little white wigs, and I had tons of questions on how to make those wigs, so I thought I would share this video with you. So here I'm getting through my stash of different faux furs and collecting my white fabric again. And I decided to make another set using these wigs, which will be available on my Etsy site, and the link is in the description box below if you're interested in those. So starting out, this fabric is super soft and stretchy, but also sheds, so I have to use my lint roller a lot. But once it's sealed and completed, then, which I'll show you at the end of this video, it doesn't shed anymore. So I just took this rectangle piece and I'm cutting it in half so I can start cutting 2 circles around the same size. The cuts don't have to be perfect, the circles don't have to be perfect, and in some cases it looks better if it's not, because you can arrange the wig with a couple of different looking styles if it is kind of oblong shaped. For some reason here I'm trying to be perfect and get it in a nice circle. You'll want to, this fabric is stretchy, so I don't have to worry too much if it's too small, but you want to make sure that it's at least 2 inches across, especially if you're putting it over a doll that has hair. I'm using this as a template to cut the second piece. And here I have 2 circles. This one's not quite a circle, so I'm cutting it so that it is, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It does help if they're the same shape, though, both circles, so you can, it'll make it a little bit easier when you're cutting or sewing them. So I chose the smaller of the 2 circles to make the bottom piece where the head will go through, so I'm going to cut the hole on this one. So I'm just cutting a little notch. So for this fabric, it's, like I said, it's stretchy, so it can go over the head even if the hole is too small. But if you're not using a stretchy faux fur fabric, you want to make sure that the head will fit through the hole that you make here. And trying to cut this into a better shaped circle just simply for aesthetics, but I think it was big enough. So once I have my 2 circles, one with a hole in the middle, I will take right side to right side and I'm going to stitch around the edges. Before I do that, I'm going to take my trusty wax. I've mentioned in a couple of videos before that I like to keep a piece of wax with my threads, so every time I thread a needle, I'll put some wax down it, and that way it prevents it from tangling and getting knots in it if you are using a long piece like I do. I don't like to have to keep threading my needles, so I like to use a really long piece. The wax really helps. So stitching these 2 pieces together, I'm just going to do a whip stitch all around the edge. And that's just a regular stitching where you just kind of whip around the edge of the circle. And I'm trying to tuck in as much of that fur as I can, but it's not a big deal if it's not all in there. Depending on the type of fur that you're using, you may want to make sure that you tuck that fur in, because if you don't, then when you turn it inside out or right side out, you'll be missing some of that fur that you may need for like the length of the hair. I'll make another video using a different type of fur so you can see the difference at some point. But luckily with this curly type fur, It's just kind of a messy look, so it doesn't have to be precise. And continuing with that whip stitch all around the edge, and tying it off with a not so perfect knot. I'm double knotting it, and the second part of the knot made a little loop, but I figured it's worked good enough for me, so I cut that off. I'm not the best seamstress. So believe it or not, if this is for your own use, this can be completely done now. And that's all that it takes to create your cute little wig. I take a couple of extra steps that I'll show you here in a minute, but that's really all you need to do if you want to create your own wig for your doll. And so here I'm going to try it on my Abby Abominable repaint. And as you see, it's a little tight pulling it on, so luckily this fabric is stretchy, and this is where you need to make sure that that hole is big enough so that the head will go through. And so here I'm just kind of playing with it. You can see that if I turn it and move it forward or back, you can just kind of play with it to get the style that you're looking for. Sometimes I want it to look a little longer, sometimes I want it just to be really short. So I'll pull it up or back a little. There really are a few different options, even though it's such a short little wig. I've also found I like to remove all of the hair on my dolls before I sell them, just to give the customer the option to reroot it or have it upgraded and rerooted by me at a later date if they want to purchase this type of doll. But I found that the wigs can work better when you have it pulled over a doll with hair. Like I said, this is just a really good option for my customers if they're looking for spending just a little bit less on one of my face-ups. You'll have a cute little costume and a wig, and then later on you could always choose to add a reroot or hairstyle, or do a reroot yourself, because I know a lot of people are really getting into that. I have a tutorial also on here on how to reroot a doll. That's become one of my favorite videos, so if you're interested in learning that, check that out. We'll put the link, we can put the link in the description box below. So here's what I do since I'm selling this one, I want to make sure that it doesn't come apart and that it doesn't fray and shed. So I take this fray away. It's just kind of a glue, and that prevents from the fabric from unraveling and shedding. So I just take that around the edge of the opening and also around the stitching on the edges. And like I said, that just helps a lot with keeping the fabric, since you just have a raw edge here, it keeps it from fraying and protects it from shedding. So I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, I'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!